Hi. I'm trying to open this here. I'm Jeremy, and today I wanted to talk about voting verification. This is something that I'm going to talk about because of a video I saw with Tim Pool. There will be a link down in the description below for, I believe, for all the videos that I show today on this one. This one is called Texas Governor Announces They Will Arrest Democrats Who Illegally Blocked Vote by Fleeing State. And if you've been watching some of my videos, you know that in some of them, up above, right above me here, I have this word pad because I want to get to the bottom of all this. This one's title is Voting Verification. And as always, this is not about changing minds. It is about showing lies, whether if they're intentional or not. That I'm leaving it open for the people, for you to decide, and to bring information and to talk it over. And that's what I want from the website that I'm going to build, is that I want the most accurate, up-to-date information possible. I know it's a tall order, but somebody's going to do it sometime sooner or later. I thought it would have been done by now. I don't know why it hasn't. I'm tired of waiting. I'm just going to do it myself. And I guess it's all right in a way because I do trust myself. I have trust issues with trusting other people. And I have a system where I because of my trust issues, I've figured this out. Anyways. So one of the first things that we do is let's be clear with our definitions. People in politics, these extremist people, they like to play around with words. They'll say something like, "You touched my shoulder, that's rape." No, it's not. It's touching your shoulder. It's not rape. Idiot. I couldn't find anything that had voting verification or certification on it. So it's like, all right, well, we'll just divide them up. So with voting, to give or register a vote, cause someone to gain or lose a particular post or honor by means of a vote. And then here from Wikipedia, voting is a method for a group such as a meeting or an electorate in order to make a collective decision or express an opinion, usually following discussions, debates, or election campaigns. And I think that's accurate enough for what we have for all of this right now. Verification, the process of establishing the truth, accuracy, or validity of something. It's like, yeah, that sums it up. That's good enough for all intents and purposes right here. Side A and Side B, we'll get into that. You're going to see these come back again. Voting verification is going to come back again, and we'll get a little bit more into all this, but I think we kind of have enough to be fine with all this. This is especially interesting to me because I live in Texas. For the most part, I kind of like Greg Abbott, and Ted Cruz, he's all right. I don't like Republicans or Democrats. Republicans don't do anything, and the Democrats cry and have little tantrums like children. They're both ineffective. They both just... Tim Pool will call them cowards, that they don't do anything. And then he'll call Democrats kind of children that they whine or whatever. No, that's wrong. They're not that. They're all the same. They're politicians. They want power. They want money. They love having that position. They love having the influence. They lie about everything. That's why they don't do anything. The Republicans, they don't do anything, not because they don't know how. I mean, they got voted into office, so they're doing something right. But what's the truth? The truth is that a lot of these things that these Democrats are pushing for also puts power and money and wealth into the hands of the Republicans, because it puts power into government. It's not just Tim Pool where I hear this too, and it just drives me up the wall whenever I hear this about, well, Republicans are bad because they don't know how to do anything, and they never do anything. They always compromise. It's like, yes, of course they always compromise. Tim Pool talks about this all the time. Oh, here's a list of things that we want, and then, oh, yeah, that seems fair and reasonable, so we'll give in to half. It's like, no, it's not fair and reasonable. They're not good people. Neither are you, because you shouldn't be giving in to any of it. Because it all does the same thing. It puts more power into their hands. They're politicians. It's what they want. And their actions show it. I don't care what they say. What do they do? And they let all this stuff go by. All of it. He does talk about how they're going to be arrested, which is wrong. So before we go any further, I do have, if you too are tired of the lies and the manipulation, and you want accurate, up-to-date information, and you don't live in a utopia with your head up in the clouds, but you want to know the truth, then give this video a like, a subscribe, give it a thumbs up to help me out so I can get started on this website as soon as possible. The quicker we can have all this, the better. And yeah, so they're not going to be arrested. The correct word is that they're going, I don't know if there's a word, but they're going to have some officers come and escort them back to the state capitol, and then they're going to be detained there until their work is done. And then after that, nothing. They're not going to go to jail. They're not going to go to prison. They're not going to be fined. They're not going to lose their office. Absolutely nothing is going to happen to them. Nothing will happen to them at all. It's why? What's the point of it? There's so much that's wrong with this. Later in the video, before I get into that, if it was reversed and these were Republicans who were fleeing the state and I'd voted Republican, I would be pissed. It's like, dude, I did not vote for you to run and flee. I vote for you because of your policies that you have that I would like to see enacted. How are you going to do that if you're not even there? What does it matter if you go to another state or if you just walk out of the chamber and you go to your office? Well, why the dramatics? Because they don't care. They don't care about what's right or wrong. They care about what happens with the press. So now he shows, man. And so later in his video right here, he gets on, what is this? I don't know what this crap is. Twitter. This Twitter guy named Jewish Deplorable. Oh man, good on this guy. He shows CNN here, because in Oregon it was the reverse, where Republicans fled the state, and they have two different kind of narratives going on. So CNN with Oregon reads, Oregon Republicans are hiding, literally, rather than vote on a climate bill. And then whenever it comes to Texas and the Democrats, Texas House Democrats leave state to block Republicans from passing voting restrictions. Whenever I want my news, whenever I want to know the facts, and I want it to be as neutral and as unbiased as possible, so I can make my own mind. Now, I don't mind having the perspectives of Democrats and the perspective of Republicans to help me kind of unpackage all of this stuff. I don't want to hear it from the news. I want CNN to give the best, most accurate information as to what's going on with this. But that's not what we get. Tim does a really good job with this. He found this. I don't know how the hell Twitter works exactly. I don't have any of this. But here's the same thing with the Rolling Stones, the New York Times. My answer to all this is that I don't give a damn who's doing it. Democrats or Republicans, Oregon or Texas. Get there. Do your job. I hate this special favoritism that goes on for politicians. What if you did that with your job? If anybody did that with their job? Oh, I'm not going to show up to work. You would be fired. What if you fled the state? Well, why do they get to do this? I saw another video where they were talking about how, well, the Democrats here, they're actually just doing filibustering, and it's so stupid because Democrats want to get rid of filibustering, but here they are doing filibustering. Filibustering, from my understanding, is actually a good thing. That this is a way that even though you may not be the majority player at the time, you can still have power. That this is a way to make the majority listen to the minority. It's like, okay, well, that's good. It's also to not only to make sure that the minorities are being heard, the minority group or groups, whoever it is that it may be, but it's also to slow down the government. And it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. We have what we have because we had a revolution against Britain, taxation without representation. We didn't like that. We didn't like this big government. We didn't like these elitists in their ivory towers that were over there in London telling the colonies what to do. There was this big disconnect, and we see it today still with these Ivory League, these people in their ivory towers who are these politicians and these celebrities who don't have any idea what it's like for most Americans. There's this huge disconnect. And this is why we've slowed all this down, and it's supposed to be a grind to go through with all this with politics. You know, we're the United States of America. We're not America. You know what, if Canada was like this, it would be the United Provinces of America, because they have provinces instead of states. So their system is different than what ours is. Ours is set up for that states have the power, and each state can be kind of like a little test place to see, well, we have an idea, we want to see if it works, and if it does, it's like, all right, well, then if it's really good and it really works, then the rest of the states should follow suit. It's not this dictatorship of the federal government telling the states what to do. There's only like 4 things originally that the federal government was supposed to do, and it was supposed to handle trade, foreign affairs, war, and something else. And now it's all this nonsense, and they get around it all the time because it's checks and balances of the government within the government, instead of that there's a real lack of the people being able to check the politicians. And here's an example of it. They just abandoned their jobs. Why can't we as people hold these losers accountable? I'm not happy that the Democrats have fled the state here in Texas. I'm not happy that the Republicans did that in Oregon. Why aren't they being punished? Where's the checks and balances for that? Special favors all the way around. Anyways, I wanted to show a little clip here of... We're going to play this from Fox News. It's called Democrats Who Fled Texas Could Be Arrested Under State Law. Cruz. No, they're not going to be arrested. They're not going to go to jail. They're not going to be prison. They are going to be escorted back to the state capitol, and they're going to be, I guess they'll be detained there, but I wouldn't call that being arrested. No, I don't like the wording of it at all.
Morning to you, sir. Got a lot to get through. We'll see how much we can get through in the next couple of minutes here. Governor Abbott said...
Yeah, somewhat. What are we, 30 seconds in, haven't even asked a question yet?
Last night on local TV in Texas, he said, I will call a special session.
And so that he just referred to, we're going to watch that one next year.
After special session, after special session until election of next year. All right, I don't know if that's the fate here, but how does this end, do you think, with lawmakers leaving the state?
Well, I think it's going to end with the Texas legislature taking up and passing election integrity legislation.
Yeah, you know, if you've seen the pictures of these Democrats leaving, it's more like that they're having a party and they're not interested in doing their jobs. And they're just talking. They've already got the position. They're already in office. The conversation that they should be having with the people should still be there on a lower capacity, and that's because they should be talking to the other politicians about whatever legislation it is that they're dealing with at the time.
What you're seeing the Democrats do here, it is a political stunt. And, you know,
Thanks a lot there, Captain Obvious. It was a political stunt. Who could have ever figured that out? Thanks a lot there. Yeah.
we'll say it's ironic, as they were getting on their private jet to fly to Washington, D.C.
And they keep saying this, that their private jet, I guess in a way, yes, to show their hypocrisy and their double standards, but also at the same time, it's like, I don't care. I'm not shocked that politicians have a private jet. If you're going to call out hypocrisy, then be very specific about it, because to me, this just sounds like Ted Cruz is just trying to grandstand here, do his own version of virtue signaling. It's like, no, spill it out.
They almost surely had to show identification to get on that jet. And
So I do like that. Okay, now we're being specific, because this is all about voter verification. And it's like, well, they had to verify to get on the plane. It's like, okay, good. That's good.
And yet they're doing this in a fit because they don't want mail-in ballots to be verified. They don't want the signatures to be verified. They don't want...
That's just so stupid. Here's part of the problem, is that this is a lie. Why wouldn't you want voter verification? Because from what I know is that the Democrats are saying this ridiculous stuff, that you can just mail it in without any kind of verification. That makes no sense. This should not be an argument. This is just a dog just running around in a circle, chasing its tail. The whole purpose is to make sure that people who have no idea about our economics and our government aren't voting. To make sure that other people who are from other countries or other governments can't manipulate our system. This makes no sense.
Want basic integrity steps to be strengthened in the state of Texas. This is, at the end of the day, politics, and they need to get back to doing their jobs. And one way or the other, they will. One of the things, you know, it's interesting. But
and they should be made to. And this isn't it, because they can still go back there, and they're not forced to. They can still just... Part of filibustering is that you can just go on and you can just talk and talk and talk and talk. There was one guy, I think he's got the record, where he talked for over 23 hours. Didn't do anything. He read one of George Washington's speeches during that time, and it did nothing. It's like, that's ridiculous. I think filibustering is good. I think that there should be some kind of power for the minorities, because if they don't have any kind of power, then what's the point? Just have the minorities leave, and the majority power can rule until the next elections happen. Well, what would be the point? Well, this is one way that you can deal with it. I think that's good. I don't think it's perfect. I think there's definitely changes that need to be made.
one of the very first assignments I ever had back 17 years ago.
So he talks about whether it was legal or not.
At that time, they fled for Ardmore, Oklahoma. Greg Abbott, my boss. Under the Texas Constitution, there's a provision that explicitly gives the Speaker the authority to arrest fleeing House members.
That's kind of weird, too, that it would be word for word. That can't be true, because the federal government has jurisdiction across the entire country, so they could go to any state and do that. Texas can't go to another state and arrest people in other states. They would require the help of that state. Same thing, vice versa. You can't come to Texas and have Oklahoma officers come and arrest. No, it's got to be the Texas officers that do the arrest.
Bitchute is copied word for word from the. They're going to come back. There's going to be a quorum, and I believe the legislature is going to do its job and protect the integrity of elections, casting illegal votes.
All fascinating, so we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, somebody had to pay for the private jets. Interesting to see who that would be.
I don't care. I don't care who paid for the private jets. You know, unless if you're going to show that they're even if you're showing that they have a double standard. Is it a double standard with this? I want to stay on point. Let's stay focused. If you want to run down a whole list, though, of double standards and say, well, because of all these double standards that they have over here, I'm also going to say that they're going to have a double standard with this, too. It's like, okay, you can do that. But just randomly throwing out this little tidbit of information, it's like, shut up. Do you have a point to it? It's like, I don't care who paid for it. I don't care at all. Does that change anything? It's like, not right now, not with this, not with the way that she framed it. And they've been doing this a lot. I've watched a few of these, and it's they throw these little jabs at them. And it's there was one where they were talking about, oh, they had some beer with them. What, are you shocked that adults drink? What the hell are you talking about? Or they were taking selfies. Okay, well, you know what? Me too. I take a trip. I take pictures. If I was going to Washington D.C., even if I was a politician, I would take pictures. They're Texas State House members, not federal House members from the House of Representatives for the U.S. government, for the federal government. They're state. They don't go to D.C. They go to Austin. So I'm not surprised that they took pictures. Who the hell wouldn't? That's what the overwhelming majority of people do. So, no, it's just crappy narrative all the way around. So this is another video. This is from Ken's 5, your San Antonio news source. This looks like this is San Antonio's Channel 5 news. The title of the video: Governor Greg Abbott threatens arresting Texas Democrats who left state in attempt to kill voting bill.
Obviously, House Democrats are in Washington, D.C. right now. They just landed a little time ago. If they run out the clock on some of your voting rights proposals, what options are you considering? Would you consider calling another special session?
Of course. I mean, this is ridiculous what's taking place, because your viewers need to know that you are the taxpayers who are paying for this junket that they're taking for multiple weeks.
Okay, so yeah, even though we didn't pay for the plane, we didn't pay for that plane trip. They had 2 private planes that went over there, and in one of these videos that I was watching, one of these other videos, it was the Democratic Party paid for it. But with the officers and the House still being in session and all this stuff, I mean, there's still all those things where the costs are going up and we are paying for it. But how much is it really? I mean, it's not that much. It's not like this is going to run up a bill of millions or billions of dollars. This isn't something like some kind of misuse of money within an agency where they're committing some kind of fraud. It's just not that much. And of all the things to talk about, I think there would have been many more things to talk about that are better, that are more on point than this.
Perhaps to Washington, D.C., or who knows where they may go to, but everyone needs to know that we have business to take care of. And it's so many different issues that are so important to the people of the greater San Antonio area. So yes, I will be calling special session after special session after special session all the way up until election day of next year if I have to address issues that were actually asked of me by a state representative in San Antonio. Representative Min Jerez asked me to put...
So yeah, I like the idea of the filibuster, where the minorities get a chance to still have some power and some say and some control over some stuff in a way. I agree with that. Whenever they leave, though, and they're not there to do any of it, it's like, don't agree with that. I don't agree with them trying to take it so far that nothing gets done at all. I want Republicans to come in and say, well, to do things like this. What happened was that the Texas state government, as well as with many other states, came on in and said we're going to have extra money because of COVID. And we're going to have these policies while COVID is here and it's such a big deal. And now some time has passed and everybody's kind of saying time to get back to the way things were. We don't need this anymore. People just need to go about and to live their lives. It's like, okay. We all got together to vote on this stuff for COVID. Now it's time to all get together and to vote as to what to do now. While I don't think that the minority or the majority should be able to just run shotgun over everything, that doesn't mean that the minority gets to do it either.
On the special session, foster care and adding additional money for the children in foster care, which I did do at her request, and now she leaves town and makes it impossible for us to vote out of the legislature right now the additional funding that the kids need in the foster care system.
I don't care. I don't care about giving foster kids money. I want a system. I want a system where those foster kids, where they have minimum stuff. I don't care about giving them video games and a big room and any of that stuff. It sucks what happened. Absolutely. What I want, though, is instead of good money or a lot of money and a lot of materialistic crap, I want them to have the best education that they can get. So then that way, whenever they're done with all of that, they are as well prepared as they can be so that they can say, screw my family or whatever happened, and I can take care of myself by putting them just on the best possible path for success that we can muster. And with the education system, with so much money that kind of comes in from that, and what a waste that it is, I'm not for this. I'm not for this at all. I'm not saying that there should be a different way to be able to give them money and funding other than the government increasing taxes and then sticking their hands in the cookie jar to take for themselves. I don't like it. The only way I would be for that is if we were to be able to come up with a system that would hold these politicians more accountable. And actually there could be. One of them is just to show complete transparency with the money and where it's going and what's being done with it. That there doesn't need to be any kind of deals behind closed doors. All of it should be in government buildings with cameras. Nothing shady going on. If it was something to do with the military and some kind of military maneuvers and it was like top secret, it's like, yeah, that's one thing. If it was something with the police and dealing with some kind of undercover work, it's like, okay, well, that's something else too right there. But anything with education and the foster care system, it's like, nope, complete and utter 100% transparency with what's going on with activists that might be involved, the politicians, where all the money is coming from and where it's all going, every last bit of it, 100%. So it can all be scrutinized. And then to make all of these people accountable.
Governor, I know you were considering adding some items to the call today. What did you add, if anything?
Ew, gross. Did you know that 85...
Sorry about those commercials.
So yes, I made clear from the beginning that we would be making additional items to the call. That was not made because there's no sense in adding anything to a call when the members are not present. So that will be withheld until the...
Why? What does it matter? What does it matter if you tell it now or later? You're going to tell it sooner or later, so just go ahead and get it out there. If it's so good, throw it out there and let them have as much. It's the same thing whenever they do those questions, whenever they're, I don't know if it's just for the president or not. It was one of the things that happened with Hillary whenever she was running for her election campaign against Donald Trump, that she got the questions ahead of time that she was going to be asked, and then that way she was able to be better prepared. It's like, I want them all to be able to know all the questions. I want them to be as best prepared as they could possibly be. I want the best from these people. I don't want gotcha. I don't want gotcha moments. I want the best.
Representatives return, whether it's tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year, we will be addressing the items that are currently on the call, which include not just additional money for foster care, but also include money for our retired teachers who desperately need.
Well, yeah, you know what? I need money too. Where's my money? Where's everybody else's money? Let's just keep raising taxes. This is ridiculous. I don't believe in special interest groups at all whatsoever. If these people need money, you know what you need to do? You need to get the hell off your high horse. These people need to get off their high horse, and they need to say, you know what, maybe I need to foster better relationships with people so that whenever bad times happen, which they're going to happen, that I have people to fall back on. It's not this big brother over your shoulder. This is one of the problems that I think that we have going on with these single family households. That today, it's like, oh, well, I don't have to have a spouse because I have all of these government welfare programs to help supplement the additional income that I would have from having a spouse. It's like, wrong. No. That's not my kid. I'm not your brother. I'm not your father. I'm not your husband. I'm not the father of that child. That is not my responsibility. You know what I would like? I would like to have those things. I'm going to have enough on my plate, and everybody who has a kid knows this. It's like, no. There's... I'll show you. Here it is. Americans leave unemployment rolls faster in states cutting benefits. Who would have guessed? Oh, the benefits aren't there anymore? So I guess if I want to eat and have clothing and shelter, I'm going to have to go work. Who would have figured that? Oh, that just doesn't make any sense at all. Bunch of idiots out there. It's like, who does that? Who just says, oh, well, the benefits are gone? Well, I guess I'm just going to die. I'm just going to sit around and not do anything and just starve to death, live on the streets or whatever it is. It's like, who does that? It's like, Tim Pool talks about this because he knows people. He did that non-profit charity stuff, and that he had friends too where they didn't want to work. They were like, we know how to play the system, so we can get all this stuff. I'm not for it at all. I'm not for enabling. And that is just blindly giving people money. They should have to produce something. And with technology, we can do this. Anyways, back to Governor Abbott.
Need that money at this particular time, as well as property tax reductions. I know for a fact that property taxes are going up in San Antonio.
Okay, so you're wanting to increase taxes for foster kids and teachers and give them more money, but you're going to reduce taxes?
And that your viewers want to see relief. We want to deliver that relief, but we cannot do it because you're...
Don't need relief. Need the ability to just go out and to have as many opportunities as possible. So get rid of all that red tape. The more the better.
Representatives, not just Benarez, but representatives like Cortez and Lopez, they are missing in action right now, and we cannot reduce your property taxes until they return to Texas and do their job.
I'm for reducing property taxes. I'm all for reducing government and all this stuff. Part of this is that they have like video games. Minecraft. It's, for some of you that might be older, it's like Legos, but it's all on the computer, so it's not a big mess. And you can just build whatever you can imagine. And they have some videos that I've seen on YouTube where they've built these huge, amazing things. You know why? Because it doesn't cost anything. Yeah, Minecraft, one-time buy, I guess, whatever it is, $20, $30. And then that's it. And then everything is free. They come up with these amazing, huge, spectacular creations. It's the same thing whenever you get rid of all this red tape and you allow people to do whatever it is that they really want to do, they can come up with amazing things. And I'll drive into that more in future videos.
I want to talk about the voting bill a little bit. Senator Hughes says the AG is investigating 44 allegations of voter fraud this year.
44? 44? It doesn't sound like it's this big problem. 44. It's like, I mean, it's good. I mean, we do need to work on it. As long as there's improvement, which there will always be, I think. I don't know. I guess maybe with computers and robotics, there might be a time whenever we can deal with it where it's practically 100%.
Out of about 11 million votes. And again, these are not...
Because I see a world at some point in time where everybody's going to have robots, and it would be something like just an armband would be like a little robot around you, and it could come off, maybe even transform a little bit in a way, and it would be part of a identification kind of thing going on. But I see technology dealing with a lot of this.
Convictions, this is just investigation. What do you say to the people who see those numbers and say this is a solution in search of a problem?
Yeah, because this 44 is like, is that really a problem? And I think he does kind of address that.
Well, I say two things. First, the solution that's being provided is one that actually adds hours to voting. It doesn't subtract hours. It doesn't make voting more difficult. It actually adds more hours to voting in the state of Texas. And compare and contrast this with...
So do we need more hours to get the voting done? It's like, well, maybe. I mean, the population goes up. So that means more people voting. So I'm not completely against adding more time. But I don't think it needs to be anything too radical. So hours, you know, it's like definitely shouldn't be months or weeks. Maybe a day, but hours, like, yeah.
With the state of Delaware, which happens to be the state where the president votes, where they have exactly 0 hours of early voting there. That said, I will tell you who knows very well about the challenges of voter fraud in the state of Texas, and that is the Obama-Biden administration. I'll tell you 2 quick reasons why. There was a judge, a federal district judge in Corpus Christi, who was appointed by Barack Obama, who wrote in an opinion that...
I don't care about one judge's opinion. I don't care. Is there evidence to back it up?
As it concerns absentee balloting, which is balloting by mail, she wrote in her opinion that voter fraud occurs, quote, in abundance. That means...
Okay, that's great. What's the proof? I don't want the opinion. I want the proof. So does the judge have proof? So he doesn't address it, FYI.
There's a lot of it taking place in the state of Texas. One example of that is what the Barack Obama administration cracked down on. There was a voter fraud scheme in South Texas where cocaine was being used to buy votes. And Barack Obama...
And this just happened recently too with, I think it was just this last presidential election with Trump and Biden. But it was in Texas, and this aide was caught going around to retirement centers, and she was she offering gifts? But she was going to retirement centers with the elderly, and she was conning them into voting a certain way. Half these people didn't even know what was going on. But I can't remember if it was her, but there was a case where they were offering them, you know, well, vote this way and get a free TV or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Because they didn't care. They were old. They were in a retirement center. The outcome of the voting didn't have any kind of effect on these people whatsoever. It wasn't good.
Sent a team of FBI agents and a U.S. attorney to crack down on that voter fraud. Biden knows there's voter fraud in Texas. Texans know.
Well, all states.
There's voter fraud in Texas. I prosecuted voter fraud when I was the Attorney General. But that said, we are trying to make it easier to vote, but harder to cheat.
If there is a...
Yeah, and then he gets into some other things not regarding this voter certification thing that's going here. So then I also, because one of the things that they talk about is what else do you need to be able to do or to get to have where you need identification. So what is this? This is nationalinterest.org, and this is called 7 Things the U.S. Government Requires IDs. Or 7 Things the U.S. Government Requires IDs for. Number 1, welfare benefits. While there is no constitutional right to welfare benefits, the Supreme Court held in the case of that welfare recipients are entitled to due process with the hearing before benefits can be determined. Okay, I don't care. Welfare benefits. You need ID to get welfare benefits. So if anybody ever says, well, the poor, they don't have ID, it's like, well, then how do they get welfare benefits? Registration for buying guns. Petitioning your government. Right of assembly. So if you want to hold protests or rallies, you have to have ID. To marry, you have to have ID to obtain a marriage license. That one, I don't believe marriage should be with the government at all. Anyways, freedom of movement. While the right to board an airplane isn't spelled out in the Constitution, the right to travel could be broadly considered a basic public accommodation and freedom of movement issue even through the Transportation Security Administration requires photo ID for everyone boarding a plane. And that goes back to what Cruz was saying, that whenever they boarded those private jets with those Democrats, they had to have ID. Public accommodations. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits businesses such as restaurants and hotels from denying service on the grounds of race, color, religion, or national origin. It's more than that. It's race, sex, color, age, gender, national origin, religion. I've talked about this before. The one common thing that they all have is that these are characteristics that you have no control over. You have no control over how old you are, the color of your skin, where you were born. The only exception to this is religion. That was the same. And then this is kind of general thing. There's 24 things that require a photo ID. To buy alcohol. How many people buy alcohol? You've got to have ID for that. If you want to buy cigarettes. I'm going to bite back on this a little bit. Nobody asks for my ID whenever I go buy alcohol. Now they used to whenever I was younger, but now I'm to the point where I'm old enough that people can just look at me and be like, yeah, he's of age. Cigarettes, opening a bank account, applying for food stamps. There's welfare again, applying for Medicare, Social Security, applying for unemployment. Jobs, you don't have to have ID for the job. Most do, but they don't have to. That's up to them. Buy, rent a house, applying for a mortgage. Buying a house, applying for a mortgage. Applying for a mortgage, yes. Buying a house, no. It depends, because I can sell my place if I want to, and if I don't want identification, I don't have to have it. You don't have to provide that. Same thing for renting. I said in a couple videos back, I'm a landlord. I don't have to have their identification. I don't know why you wouldn't, though. I require everybody to give me their identification, because if I have any kind of problems, it's like, yes, I am going to take you to court. Absolutely. If I need to evict you, if I got some kind of from you, yes, I'm going to get that back. You did something that was screwed up. I'm coming after you. Drive by, rent a car. Rent a car, yes. Buy a car, same thing. It's like you don't need ID to buy a car. I could sell you my car. I don't need to see your ID. Most dealerships, though, are probably going to require that. To drive, technically, yes, you need a driver's license. And then here we are getting on a plane again, getting married, purchase a gun, adopting a pet. Really, I didn't know that one. Why the hell would you need identification to adopt a pet? Rent a hotel room. Is that a goat? Oh. Apply for a hunting license. Yep. Oh, the meme. That's funny. That's a predator there in duck hunt. He missed. Just like in the movie. Yeah. Apply for a fishing license. I don't fish, but I think that's right. Yeah, well, I'm going to assume all these are right. These would be too easy to just check. So, buy a cell phone. Really? I don't remember showing my identification for buying my cell phone. Oh, buy a cell phone? No. Getting a cell phone plan? Yes, I can see that. Visiting a casino? I'm sure that's just like alcohol and cigarettes. You have to be of legal age, and so if you're too young, probably yes. Picking up a prescription? Yep. Hold a rally or protest? Yep. Blood donations? Buy an M-rated video game? Really? I guess so. I mean, okay. Purchasing nail polish at CVS. What? I have nail polish because it's great at removing certain kinds of stains and for cleaning. And so I use it for that. And I just go buy it at Walmart and No. You do. Whenever it's because it's got alcohol in it. Yep, that's right. You do. But again, it's the same thing. It's just verifying your age. So that's why. It's because people just look at me and they're like, yeah, you're old enough to buy alcohol. Same thing with purchasing certain cold medicines. They have alcohol in them. So, yeah. So what are you telling me? That these people just went through their youth in their 20s and 30s, and they didn't buy cold medicine, nail polish remover, mature games, donate blood, all this other stuff? I've seen videos too where people have gone around and they've asked these people who are supposedly unable to go out and get identification. And it's just, they know exactly where the place is at, and they're like, yeah, who doesn't? It's like, anyways. So I'm going to be adding some of these things to get an ID, for example, and I'm going to list those out here. I'm going to shorten all that up, and we'll fill these things out as it goes, because next time as it comes up, we've kind of got the basis for all of this. And there are some things that with some of these topics that whenever a certain issue comes up, it's like it just gets killed. It's like you can't get past this. And if you watch enough of my videos, you'll come across some of those. So anyways, again, this is not about changing your minds. This is about showing that there are lies. I don't care if they're intentional or not. But all this crap from what my understanding is, as of this moment, is that there's no reason to not have voter verification. People have identification for all of these other things. We have defined voter verification as voting to give power to people to be able to enact these policies, to be our representatives, and verification, the process of establishing the truth and accuracy or validity of something. And that's absolutely. I want to know that nobody is taking my vote and then just going in and changing it for what they want. It's like, I want my vote to count for what it's supposed to, for whatever it is that I put there. And I don't want you going around and lying and cheating this aide, this activist person or whatever, because one of those other things that they do is they do these harvest balloting things. It's where you can go to a retirement community center, and you can just collect up all their votes, throw them in a bag, and then you can just throw them away if you wanted to, and you can produce a new bag that's got, or you can just go through and just change theirs into whatever it is that you want. That's something that I think, from my understanding, happened with Trump with this last election where Biden won, that they came across all of these votes where they were perfectly folded, and all the little dots were perfectly filled in, and it was just it was like it was a mass production kind of thing. It's like, really? And it's like, well, why not? What are you going to do? In one of these other videos, I saw that nothing's going to happen to these Democrats for doing what they did with, in fact, it might have been Greg Abbott talking about how all these cases of voter fraud, nothing's going to happen to these people.
Abundance of voter fraud. Why don't we see more convictions each year?
Oh, yeah.
Because oftentimes no one's going to tell you they voted illegally, and so it takes time to uncover it. That said, there have been elections, especially in South Texas, that have been overturned in recent times because of voter fraud that has taken place. A lot of voter fraud that you see, especially that leads to overturning or having to redo elections, are in the local elections. It could be city elections or county elections where we've seen it most prolifically. But during my time when I was the Attorney General, I prosecuted cases of voter fraud across the entire state of Texas. I know it exists, and we just need to work collaboratively to make sure that we provide additional hours of time for people to vote, which is what we are.
In other words, they don't do anything to these people. Nothing. You know what? It's just like with the Democrats. Whenever they come back, they're not going to do anything to them. The only thing that they're going to do is they're going to do a revote or a recount or something along those lines.
But also something that we all agree upon, and that is to ensure that in the absentee ballot, mail-in ballot process, we make it harder to cheat. And I got to tell you, this is a viewpoint that is shared by both parties, because members of the Democrat Party on the Texas House of Representatives floor said that there is a reason to crack down on mail-in ballot fraud, and that is a way to ensure greater integrity in the election process.
The last part he's not talking about. He's talking about something else here in the last little segment that he's got. I'll have links in the description below for all of these videos, so if you want to watch them in your entirety, go ahead and knock yourself out. I just personally do not understand why we just haven't updated everything with all the technology that we have. This should be easy. It should be a hell of a lot better than what it is. Those Dominion voting machines were caught where if you voted for someone, they claimed it to be a glitch, and you actually had your vote go for the other candidate, which from my understanding, it was people were voting for Donald Trump and it went to Biden. I don't know how true that is, but I do know that there were problems with this. And then I also saw another video where it was the Young Turks who were doing the exact same thing, but because it was all the opposite. They weren't getting it for their candidate, and they were talking about voter fraud and integrity and how they wanted all this stuff. But now with Biden, or their candidate won, I think it was with the president, that they were like, oh no, there's no kind of problems, and they completely changed their tune with all that because it fit what they wanted. It's like, no, it's like it's either good or it's not. Which one is it? And the answer is it's not good. Anyways, as I like to always end, this is not about changing anyone's minds. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to show that there's all of this lying that's going on, whether if it's intentional or not. So if you understand this from what I've shown, that yes, they're lying and the politicians are not being held accountable, and you understand this and you want a change with all of this, give the video a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I've got Patreon and Subscribe Star because I'm going to deal with this. And I need your help too in more ways than one. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.